Political world, obviously, over the past 2 days, have been talking about Marco Rubio's inability to get beyond his talking points.
Yeah.
Is that Marco Rubio the scripted, prepackaged, many are saying robotic Marco Rubio, the Marco Rubio you've known for the past 10, 20 years?
No. I know him as a bright, charismatic leader that hasn't been tested, hasn't gone through all of the things that people that have been governors gone through. But I don't consider him that at all. I thought it was really weird because that's not who he is that I know.
What did you make of the list he had when he was asked to sort of describe what his accomplishments?
That's the problem. He doesn't have a list. The list.
Well, what about the Hezbollah?
He didn't show up. He didn't show up to vote. It was a 94-0 vote passed by unanimous consent. He didn't show up. He was doing a fundraiser.
And he wasn't even there.
He wasn't there.
So,
and the risk corridor deal, which is a good thing, this element of Obamacare that was taken out, he claims credit for it, but the sponsors of it deny it, and the New York Times, which doesn't retract stories very often, retracted their story. He doesn't have a record. So that's not to say he's not gifted, because he is. He's a gifted person, and he will be a leader going forward, but he doesn't have a proven record. And I think people aren't willing to make a risky bet on it.
So often it's a big opportunity if a candidate is asked on the national platform, you know, what are your accomplishments? So if you were given that question, where would you begin?
I was. You asked me last week.
What are your accomplishments? Like, what are your key accomplishments that you, if you were on the debate stage and you were given that opportunity?
Well, I hopefully have answered it. 8 hurricanes, 4 tropical storms in 16 months. Led the state through really turbulent times. We created the first, the second, and the third statewide voucher program. Accountability around learning. We had the greatest learning gains in the country. We created the first community-based child welfare system, moving all of us out of the government but having increased funding. We created the first strategy as it relates to drug addiction and drug use, which is a huge problem here in New Hampshire. I've done it. That's the difference.
And
the difference is that I had a chance to lead.
By the way, you did vouchers, and the teachers union went to war with you. It was ugly. Then you did One Florida. Yeah. And then everybody went to war with you. You would walk into your office and people would be lying on the floor, and Jeb would walk past and go, "Hey, how you doing? Good morning. Good to see you. Hey, how are you?" And you kept going, and you passed that to get rid of quotas. Yeah. In the state of Florida.
We eliminated affirmative action. We eliminated career civil service protections, in a way that now seems almost impossible. But you can do these things if you have leadership skills and bring people together to do it. And then then you have to do something that's different, which is passing an amendment and calling it success is not leadership. Leadership is taking an idea all the way to completion.
You know, Governor, I had a conservative activist say, there's no Republican governor currently serving that could claim to have as good of a conservative governing record as you. And I said to him, then why aren't you with him? And he goes, oh, Common Core and immigration. And it's sort of this, it's sort of this, they have allowed that to cloud their judgment on your overall record. Because they sit there and say, the governing record, if you're a conservative, there's nobody's record, even currently now, that would stand up to yours as being a. Do you think that that's been? No, there's too many activists that are almost like blinded by those two issues and they can't look past it?
That's a challenge for me. And so on education, I tell the full story, and people seem to like it in the town hall meetings. As it relates to Common Core, I've never thought the federal government should have any say in the creation of standards, content, or curriculum. And the law, the reauthorization of the law actually prohibits that. And that was being done at my request. Lamar Alexander certainly was going to do it anyway, but I told him, do it. Make it clear. And it was one of the few bills actually that has passed with bipartisan support in Congress this last year.
Governor Bush, nobody questions, I don't think, your executive leadership in Florida on domestic issues, but foreign policy is one place you haven't been tested over your career. How much, if you're elected president, would you lean on advisors to your brother and your father? Is that the group of people you'd rely on?
My brother, my father, people that are serving in positions of responsibility in Congress, of course. I mean, so let's just do the math on here. If you've been in a position of leadership in foreign policy and you're a Republican, you've served 2 presidents since 1989. I mean, by definition, I'm going to be relying on, just as every other candidate is, relying on Bush 41 and Bush 43. And I have a group of young advisors.
But also, though, there's a big difference, though, of the people that served for your brother and your father. I mean, there is the Brent Scowcroft worldview, and there is the Dick Cheney worldview, and there is
There's going to be a Jeb Bush worldview.
Right, and so the question is, are you closer to, let's say, Brent Scowcroft or Dick Cheney?
Dick Scowcroft, Dick Cheney.
Wow, that's a hard. That's kind of like putting him on.
Yeah, somewhere in between.
I'd
those
be in
two.
between those. Look, I think there needs to be America's presence in the world needs to be clear, consistent. Both sides of that debate, both those people believe that. I don't think our first impulse is to unilaterally engage.
Yeah.
So maybe that's more Scowcroft-like.
Would you consider yourself a realist?
I'm a realist. Yeah, hell yeah, I am. Hope everybody is. I mean,
Everybody's not.
Well, the world as we know it, you have to confront it.
Right.
You got to be real in the sense that this is not about idealism. This is about keeping us safe.
What's the line between security and democracy, right? That's always been sort of, I think, early in your brother's administration, spreading democracy was a big deal, even if it meant even if it meant it wasn't always in our national security interest.
Look, there are other elements. Soft power is important. You don't say that in a Republican primary that much, but we need to be engaged diplomatically, politically, economically. There are many elements of a foreign policy, but national security, keeping us safe, has got to be the first priority.
Good answer. Good answer.
That is a good answer. And by the way,
Hampshire. Yeah, I love it.
by the way, soft power very important, but something that you don't usually hear in Republican.
Well,
primaries.
soft power without hard power backing it up is nothing. It's a nothing.
Hey, YouTube fans, I'm Luke Russert. Thanks for checking out our MSNBC channel. Subscribe by clicking right here and click any of the videos over here to watch the latest breaking news, mini documentaries, conversations from Shift, and other digital exclusives. Check it out.